Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Day 2 of parole hearings for the Menendez brothers. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Erik and Lyle Menendez were convicted of killing their parents at their Beverly Hills home in 1989. Over 30 years later, they're seeking parole. After a long hearing yesterday, Erik Menendez was denied parole. Today, it's his brother Lyle's turn. KPBS reporter John Carroll is live in Otay Mesa outside Donovan Prison with the latest for us. John?
Maya, very much the same situation out here at 5 p.m. as it was yesterday, and that is still no decision, at least that we've been told yet, from the parole board. Also very much a similar scene as it was out here yesterday. A lot of crews from both San Diego and L.A. gathered to follow the latest. Now, if things go today like they went yesterday for Erik's hearing, it may be a bit before we know the outcome. The hearing began just after 9 in the morning, but the board didn't issue a decision until shortly before 6. That decision was to deny parole. Among the multitude of media out here, along with the media, was Raul Montes. He came all the way from Chicago to call on the parole board to grant release to Erik and Lyle. He tells me he took time off work and paid for the trip out here himself. And when I asked him why, this is what he told me.
I'm very sensitive to the issue because I was a victim of sexual assault in my past, so I can relate to them in that aspect. Also, I believe that they were not given a fair trial.
Here's how the parole board hearing works. Lyle is appearing via teleconference from prison here at Donovan with the parole board, who are up in Sacramento. There is only one reporter allowed to watch a live stream of the proceedings, but he is not allowed to share anything until the end of those proceedings. Again, the board did not reach their decision just until before 6 yesterday for Erik, and the meeting didn't conclude until about 6:40, so that's as soon as the reporter could release any info to other news organizations. If the board grants parole to Lyle, the decision will go to the chief counsel for the parole board, who must certify the decision was arrived at legally. If he does, then it goes to Governor Newsom, who has 30 days to decide whether to approve the parole, deny it, or put conditions on it. The brothers will also have the chance to appeal if it's denied for Lyle as well. The governor also has the option of granting clemency. By the way, yesterday, among the reasons that the board gave for denying Erik parole was that he engaged in what they termed serious cell phone violations. Now, the reason that all of this is even possible is because earlier this year, a judge resentenced Erik and Lyle to 50 years to life in prison with the possibility of parole. We will, of course, be following whatever action the board takes. As soon as we hear anything, we will let you know, either on the radio, on KPBS radio, and, of course, as always, on kpbs.org. Live in Otay Mesa, outside Donovan State Prison, John Carroll, KPBS News.
We appreciate that report, John. Chances are you noticed it as soon as you walked out of the door. San Diego's very own tropical heat wave. Well, advisories are in place for inland areas like El Cajon, while some residents there are sweltering from the high temperatures. Others told our media partner KGTV that they hardly noticed the muggy conditions.
I mean, I'm originally from Florida, so I'm used to high-end humidity. Like 90-degree temperatures are pretty normal for me. Yeah, this is just pretty much just as normal as a desert, as a hot desert day with no humidity. I don't even notice it.
Yeah, this is probably considered mild for him. If you're looking for a good place to beat the heat, you can stop by any designated cool zone across the county. You can call 211 or visit coolzones.org for a full list of locations. And you can also find free transportation to a cool zone near you.
It has been a hot end to the week, and we're going to continue with the heat through the weekend. There will also be some spotty thunderstorms that develop, especially over the interior, especially over the mountains into the next few afternoons. Tonight, we'll get down into the 60s, upper 60s at that. It's a humid time with some low clouds returning for the coast. One of the hot spots, Borrego Springs, only cooling down to 82. Extreme heat warnings continue for Saturday until 8 p.m. for the deserts, with heat advisories for many of us as well. We'll have your full forecast coming up.
San Diego police are taking steps to make the complaint process more transparent and accessible. The San Diego Police Department agreed to 11 out of 14 recommendations made by the Commission on Police Practices, and those include developing a standardized script to explain options to those making complaints, ensuring no officer investigates a case in which they have a personal connection, conducting investigative interviews with open-ended neutral questions, among others. The CPP says it will continue advocating for stronger reforms and building community trust. A big win for the developers of a controversial North County housing project. San Diego County Planning Commissioners approved Harmony Grove Village South today. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Wynn says residents are disappointed with the outcome.
Yes.
Let the record show that this item passes.
There was some grumbling from the crowds after the commission unanimously approved the project. Residents say the 453 home development will make it harder to evacuate during a wildfire.
If you look at our community, half the homes in that community have burnt to the ground previously.
Harmony Grove resident Jonathan Dummer says the problem with the development is that there's only one way in and out.
They are forgetting to put in a secondary exit. We live in a community that has been through many fires. I have been through 3 fires since I've lived out there. And each of those fires came fast and it burned hot.
Earlier this year, residents invited KPBS to visit the site. They wanted to show how dry the area is and the only road out of the area.
They want to put 453 homes on a dead-end road.
J.B. Thabej is with the Elfin Forest Harmony Grove Town Council. He says the last time a fire broke out in the area, it took more than an hour to evacuate. With the added development, consultants told him the evacuation will take longer.
The experts that we've hired and that we've consulted with, he said that it would take 7 hours to get people down a 1.5-mile road to safety. 7 hours.
The proposed Harmony Grove Village South includes single and multifamily homes. It was originally approved in 2018, but residents sued, saying it violated the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. The San Diego County Board of Supervisors rescinded that approval in 2022 after the courts sided with residents. The developers appealed the decision, and an appeals court said only part of the environmental impact report needed to be adjusted. And that's how we got here today. The Planning Commission is only looking at whether the project conforms with CEQA and to certify the environmental impact report. Developers say they've mitigated the fire danger by expanding the bridge over Escondido Creek into multiple lanes. Residents say that's not enough.
Please give us an escape route and we'll back off. That's it. But they haven't offered us that.
In a statement, Harmony Grove Village South managing partner David Kovac says that's a baseless scare tactic that's, quote, been disproved time and again by fire, law enforcement, evacuation experts, county government, and the California Appellate Court. The project now heads to the Board of Supervisors for approval. That vote is expected on October 1st. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
San Diego's metropolitan transit system is facing a deficit of $120 million in the coming years. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the agency is looking to the public for guidance on what to do about it.
If you're just looking at ridership numbers, MTS isn't doing so bad. Ridership growth since the pandemic is the second highest in the nation, and passenger trips were up 7% in the most recent fiscal year. MTS CEO Sharon Cooney attributes the success to the agency's efforts to improve service.
For instance, we've increased our security. We heard loud and clear that people wanted to feel safe as they traversed our transit network. We've also been adding services. The Mid-Coast trolley extension opened up right during the pandemic. We also increased bus service on various routes.
But all those improvements have come at a cost, and MTS has been impacted by inflation, just like every American household.
Government subsidies and the fares have not been keeping up with the inflationary impacts. And it's really not just MTS that's suffering from this. This is a problem all across the United States right now.
In preparation for its fiscal cliff, MTS has launched an outreach campaign called MTS on Track. It asks San Diegans how they would want MTS to spend new revenue, say from the state or a local ballot measure. Cooney says if that revenue doesn't materialize, MTS will have to cut its budget by 25%. And that would hurt transit riders and non-riders alike.
One of the great things about transit is it's there for everybody. Even if you don't use it on a regular basis, you might use it to go to a game or a medical appointment, school. You have children, they need it. This is a time when we really need to start focusing our efforts on avoiding that fiscal cliff.
MTS is collecting comments online at participate.sdmts.com. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
The markets cheered as Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell hints a long-awaited interest rate cut could be coming. But that may not be all good news for our economy. Karen Kaifa has the details from the Fed chief's closely watched speech.
Balance between
Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell Friday hinting at a long-awaited interest rate cut, not because of President Donald Trump's pressure on the central bank, but because the U.S. labor market is now on shaky ground.
It is a curious kind of balance that results from a marked slowing in both the supply of and demand for workers. This unusual situation suggests that downside risks to employment are rising.
Speaking at the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City's annual symposium in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, Powell said Trump's tariffs have pushed prices higher, but doesn't yet know whether that will lead to persistent inflation.
The upward pressure on prices from tariffs could spur a more lasting inflation dynamic, and that is a risk to be assessed and managed.
That uncertainty puts the Fed, whose mandate is maximum employment and stable prices, in a tough spot.
If they're more focused on inflation, they're probably going to have a higher for longer, or what we would call a hawkish stance going forward, which is certainly not what Wall Street is hoping for.
Trump has made no secret of his displeasure with the independent Fed or his plans to reshape it. This week, Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte accused Fed Governor Lisa Cook, a Biden appointee, of mortgage fraud, and the Justice Department is now looking. Trump said Friday if Cook doesn't resign, he'll fire her.
What she did was bad. So I'll fire her if she doesn't resign.
The evidence against her isn't quite clear. Cook says she won't be bullied and will provide facts to answer any questions. In Washington, Karen Kaifa, KPBS News.
President Donald Trump is promising to purge cultural institutions of exhibits that conflict with his political views. Specifically, he claims that museums focus too much on negative periods of American history like slavery. Lee Waldman tells us what this could mean for the country's most prominent museums.
The Smithsonian is charged with simply telling the truth about American history.
Historians and researchers are concerned about President Donald Trump's push to purge museums of information the White House describes as woke. In a post on Truth Social, Trump wrote, "The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was," continuing with nothing about success, nothing about brightness, nothing about the future.
Millions of Americans visit the Smithsonian every year, and we don't need the micromanagement and with macro incompetence from the White House.
This latest push comes after the White House ordered a sweeping review of the Smithsonian museums and exhibits, and months after an executive order was signed by Trump aimed at restoring truth and sanity to American history. The executive order states museums in our nation's capital should be places where individuals go to learn, not to be subjected to ideological indoctrination or divisive narratives.
To also see a story of resilience, of transformation, and of democracy, right? The promise of democracy and democracy realized. And I think that's the part that the president really just misses.
Both experts feel concerned about the potential to eliminate certain aspects of American history from museums.
The president is choosing to ignore in favor of this really reductive and harmful version of history that he wants to implement.
We don't need the president or anyone else literally assaulting our culture, assaulting our history.
In New York, I'm Lee Waldman.
Film Out San Diego's LGBTQ+ Film Festival turns 25 this year. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando previews this year's festival and looks back at its beginnings.
San Diego State University is where Film Out was born, thanks to grad student Joe Forelli.
This all started when I was at San Diego State doing my master's, and I decided to do this festival as a thesis project.
Forelli's thesis focused on identifying a queer sensibility in film.
So I looked at the works of directors that I knew were gay, but that didn't make outwardly gay films. People like Terrence Davies. And that got me thinking that there was this underlying queer sensibility, especially in the time when you had the Hays Code, where you couldn't talk about homosexuality and you couldn't mention it. So filmmakers would have to work to get their ideas across to like-minded people.
Film Out's gone through a lot of changes since Forelli filed for nonprofit status in 1993 and later debuted the festival at the Ken Cinema. In 2004, Michael McQuiggan began working as the festival's programmer.
It feels like we just started this festival. This has been out of the 25 years, I think this has been my 21st year being the program director, so it seems a little bit surreal, but here we are.
This year, the festival lineup includes exit interviews about a man making a documentary about all his exes and why they left him.
I think this is going to be harder than I thought.
It's a world premiere and they're all coming, so we're excited. And then Plain Clothes is the Russell Tovey film.
Release me!
What did I do?
Why under arrest?
That kind of the hot ticket on the festival circuit still. I was really surprised that I was able to get the film twinless.
I have a twin brother and he passed away.
It was a big hit at Sundance, so I'm glad that we're ending their festival run as a closing night movie.
In addition to features, Film Out showcases short films like Aaron Levitt's Demon Boy.
It's a supernatural thriller, but I made it thinking about the experience of desiring intimacy and connection in the digital age and how difficult that is, especially as a queer person living in Los Angeles.
Jonathan Hammond will screen his short, Fireflies in the Dusk, at the Museum of Photographic Arts on Sunday. He describes his film as
time travel, Victorian, romance, parody, slasher film.
Hammond has roots in San Diego, and this will be his fourth film screened at Film Out.
Film Out means a huge, tremendous amount to me. I've been coming here for 20 years, and Michael McQuiggan has been so supportive of me, as well as San Diego filmmakers.
For his short, Aaron Immediato says he always wanted to make a sci-fi alien invasion film with a queer twist.
The Last Story on Earth is very much my what I've been calling my sci-fi love letter to drag queens. It is very much a creative response to these attacks, especially, targeting drag artists, focusing on them not being safe for kids has been especially offensive to me as a queer person.
McQuiggan says he tries to steer the festival away from overt political messaging.
It is challenging. I want people just to come in to get away from that for at least 4 days and just come in and enjoy cinema.
But Hammond notes Saturday's panel on Queer Joy on Screen can still be seen as political.
Queer Joy is absolutely an act of rebellion. To be blunt, the current administration is doing everything they can to subvert and take away the joy. So I think by being joyful and being proud of who you are is counter to everything they stand for.
I think right now it's incredibly important to appreciate whatever opportunities we have to share queer work, to be in community with queer people, to engage in the culture in a way that acknowledges the current political climate while also just making space to exist.
With 25 festivals under its belt, Film Out has played a role in both the LGBTQ+ and film communities, making Forelli proud.
Seeing what Michael has done with it, and Michael and company, it's just been wonderful. It's just been an amazing thing. I could never imagine it would have gone this long or been this successful.
Happy birthday, Film Out, and here's to the next 25 years of incredible films and uplifting voices. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Yes, happy birthday. Now, if you've been thinking about bringing a furry, four-legged, or even a fine feathered friend into your life, well, tomorrow is your day. All adoption fees are being waived at all campuses of the San Diego Humane Society's Clear the Shelters Day. The Humane Society says it's not only compassionate, but also it's cost-effective because every animal is spayed or neutered, microchipped, and vaccinated. The Humane Society is caring for more than 1,800 animals, so the need for loving homes is great. Adoption hours are from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. and a promotion for half off all adoptions will then continue through the end of August.
The heat is on. We're dealing with some widespread heat across the Southwest, sweltering in the desert over the next couple of afternoons. There is some monsoon moisture, though, that will also offer temporary relief in the form of some spotty thunderstorms, especially over the mountains. And if you're looking for comfortable weather, the coast is the place to be with low clouds in the morning. And it's like the refrigerator door is open here on the edge of the Pacific Ocean. As we look at the overnight lows, 69 degrees, pretty warm out there, mainly clear, and then a little bit of cloud cover will sneak in later on. But Saturday, it's hot out there, and there will be some monsoon moisture, most robust to the Four Corners region. Up into the Sierra, we're going to see some thunderstorms, but the heat is the biggest headline, with extreme heat warnings continuing until 8 p.m. Saturday for the deserts. Heat advisories for most inland areas until 8 p.m. Saturday as well. And we're going to be pretty steamy out there. El Cajon, 93. Ramona, 98. Borrego Springs, 109. Mount Laguna will be around 78. But look at the thunderstorms there. Again, the storms will be most likely to develop over the mountains. Let's take you forward in time here with future radar and satellite. You can see thunderstorms will be most widespread in the interior. But here we are Saturday morning. There might even be a little bit of a brief downpour or two in the morning. This will activate, though, in a slightly more numerous fashion into the afternoon with thunderstorms driven by the heat of the day. That's through Saturday evening. Stepping into Sunday, we'll see another little episode of scattered thunderstorms over the mountains into Sunday as well. So coastal areas, we're going to be humid, more humid than normal, noticeably humid and very warm. A lot of us will make a run into the low 80s, backing off slightly into the middle of next week. Inland areas, the heat is on, low 90s. If you're far enough inland, you're under a heat advisory. Pretty hot out there and somewhat humid. Into the mountains, spotty thunderstorms, most likely Saturday. Isolated chance on Sunday, but otherwise most of the day will be partly sunny. And here we do escape the worst of the heat with high elevations. Another chance for thunderstorms increases on Tuesday and into the deserts. Here we're dealing with the triple-digit heat. We're locked in for the next few days, backing off slightly into Tuesday and Wednesday, with even a chance for a thunderstorm with a hint of monsoon moisture Tuesday and Wednesday as well. For AccuWeather, I'm Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
Here's another look at today's top stories. A hearing to decide whether Lyle Menendez will remain behind bars or be recommended for release is taking place. A similar petition for the release of Erik Menendez was denied by a state parole board yesterday. The brothers were convicted in 1995 of killing their parents in 1989 in their Beverly Hills mansion. They were resentenced earlier this year, making them eligible for parole. San Diego's Metropolitan Transit System is seeking input on how to prepare for a looming budget deficit. The agency's post-pandemic ridership growth is the second highest in the country, but improvements like new security officers and increased bus frequencies have come at a cost. MTS says without new revenue, the agency could be forced to cut its budget by 25%.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, the FBI raids the home of Trump's former national security advisor turned critic John Bolton. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Over the last half-century, parts of the Tijuana River Valley have been restored from a dump site to an environmentally protected area. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayers says a new play telling that story and the region's history from an indigenous perspective premieres tomorrow in San Diego.
The caw of birds and whir of helicopters at the mouth of the Tijuana River set the real-life scene for an upcoming Kumeyaay play called Shuluk Wet'suw'i, where lightning was born. It tells the story of 17-year-old Lucky, a disillusioned gamer.
And I'm worried about you.
With his uncle, with the scientist, and with the character of Water, he starts to recognize his connection to the land, to his culture, and stepping into his power as an activist.
Mabel Reynoso is the playwright. She says it builds off her other production, Somos Aire, which focuses on air pollution in San Isidro.
I was born in Tijuana, so I am a daughter of the borderlands. I've been crossing border my whole life, and this area is sacred to me.
And sacred to others, too. Johnny Bear Contreras is an artist and cultural advisor for the play. He says it tells the Kumeyaay creation story.
The Coronado Islands is where the actual creation story begins.
Contreras says the new play is the first of its kind for the Kumeyaay Nation, and the Tijuana River Valley is central to it all.
It moves from the Coronado Islands onto the shore and up in through the mountains and through the estuary and through the waterways. The waterways play a significant role in all our storytelling, but especially in creation, because creator is ha, Maya ha, water is ha, right? So when you call the creator, you say Maya ha umpao, to be here.
In addition to the performances, there will be panel discussions about the Tijuana River Valley's special environment. Oscar Romo is an environmental engineer who's worked to restore the valley for decades.
All this was a dump site, full of tires, mattresses, furniture, people driving four-wheelers all over the place. It was bad. And this is a product of 40 years of care and love and passion.
Romo says the Tijuana River Valley is the kidney and lungs of San Diego, but it's still suffering from rampant pollution and a sewage crisis.
Where are you from?
I live in Tijuana.
He hopes the play inspires people to preserve the binational area for future generations.
So fisheries depend on estuaries. Migratory birds depend on estuaries. And we also depend on the quality of life we enjoy by having this.
Reynoso says the play is a show for all.
I think it's a universal story because it's about activism. It's about what power do we have as individuals and what power do we have when we recognize our connection to nature.
Shuluk Wechui, Where Lightning Was Born, runs this Saturday, August 23rd at 1 and 5 p.m. at San Diego Sparks Studio in Kearny Mesa. The event is free and space is limited, so reservations are required. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Look for tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.